The key thing is to make sure that you are only allowed to go to the 2 square metre rule outdoors if you have a QR code. So we're saying to all businesses, if you either have your own electronic QR code or the Service New South Wales one, you will be able to have that restriction eased. In addition, we're also pleased that outdoor musical performances will also have increased number of people in participating in those events, whether they're the participants, the players, but also people watching those performances, which is great news for the arts sector. And I know so many people who are performers have suffered for months and months. Some have not worked for 7 months, in fact. And for them, it's a huge relief to be able to now do what they do best, but also reinstate those jobs that unfortunately were put on hold during that time. I also want to foreshadow that if Dr Chant is happy with the number of cases we have over the weekend, we are and want to announce further easing of restrictions next week, but that will depend on how the case numbers go in the next few days. We did hold off on those. We were hoping to make some announcements yesterday and today, but we have held off on those given the number of community transmissions we've had this week. So I'll now ask Dr Chant to provide a detailed outline of the status of those cases that came in since 8 o'clock last night, and then Minister Hazzard will elaborate on the arrangements we have in relation to those quarantine provisions for New Zealanders. And we welcome New Zealanders, we welcome the Kiwis to our shores. It is a first important step in bringing back international travel, and we hope that Prime Minister Ardern returns the favour in the near future. So, Dr Chant.
Thank you, Premier. So as the Premier indicated, there were 5 new cases to 8 p.m. last night. 4 of those were overseas acquired in hotel quarantine and 1 was locally acquired and was linked to a known case or cluster. The 1 new locally acquired case is a household contact of a previously reported case linked to the Lakemba cluster. Overnight, we have had some cases coming in and we'll update you if there's anything relevant from a public health perspective. We have had some additional cases linked to the Great Beginnings Childcare Centre at Oran Park, and we will be contacting and recontacting families and staff at that childcare centre and provide additional advice. But I would ask anyone who is at that childcare centre to immediately isolate. A number of people would have been advised to isolate, but we may be upgrading the advice for some of the casual contacts at that childcare centre, but Public Health will be reaching out to you immediately this morning. Also, people that have attended the A to Z medical clinic in Lakemba between the 25th of September to the 25th of September to the 2nd of October. We're requesting that you go forth and get tested. It is greater than 14 days since you were there, but we are suggesting you to get tested. And anyone who was attended between the 3rd to the 10th of October, we're asking you to get tested, isolate and remain in isolation, monitor for symptoms, get retested if any symptoms develop 14 days since you were last at that centre. And I just do want to acknowledge the local community and the response we've had around the testing request in that area. Thank you very much. Also, as I've indicated, we have been expanding the state's sewage surveillance system, and we have had a detection in the treatment plant at Quakers Hill on the 13th of October. The plant serves Sydney's west and northwest, which includes some areas where there's recent cases, so that may be the explanation. But for the utmost caution, we are asking people in that area to come forward and get tested if they have any symptoms. Now, that advice about getting tested for symptoms applies across New South Wales, but we think that this additional information should continue to urge people in that area to come forward for testing. Also, there's some venues that are in Bargo and Campbelltown and Narellan Town Centre. These venues have been identified by what's called the upstream contact tracing, and that's why they are from a while ago. So through that upstream, we've identified other cases who were potentially infectious at particular points in time. So the 14 days has passed for many of these sites, but we have got specific advice in relation to these venues. So in terms of the Bargo Hotel on the Great Southern Road, Bargo, if you were there on the 26th of September 2020, between 7 p.m. to 9 p.m, patrons or staff who were there for an hour or more during this time are considered close contacts and must get tested regardless of symptoms. And patrons or staff who were there for less than 1 hour during this time are considered casual contacts and must be tested if they had any symptoms at all. Spotlight Plaza, 147 Queen Street, Campbelltown, including the Spotlight store, Gloria Jeans, on September the 26th between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Patrons or staff who were there for less than 1 hour during this time are considered casual contacts and must be tested should they have had any symptoms at all. And Narellan Town Centre on the 26th of September between 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Patrons or staff who were there for less than 1 hour during this time are considered casual contacts and must be tested should they have any symptoms at all. Thank you.
Thanks, Kerry. Well, today is a great day. We're having the first flights in from New Zealand. Obviously, the New South Wales Government has spent many months working through what they could do and what they couldn't do, but the New South Wales Government has been keen to open up our economy at the same time as we're keeping people safe. We have worked extensively with the federal government, as would be required, because these are international flights. And as a result of the work of the state government and the federal government, the Australian government, there will be very clear delineation of the categories of people who can come into our state. Again, striking the balance between tourism, the economy and keeping our local community safe. As a result of those discussions with the federal government and the New Zealand government, people coming in, tourists coming in or visitors from New Zealand, will have to have been in New Zealand for at least 14 days. And when they arrive at the airport, they will have to complete a declaration which indicates their state of health, and they effectively will be screened at that end. When they arrive here in New South Wales at the international airport, again, they're under the control of the federal government, under the Border Force requirements, but it'll be very, very clear that they will be kept separate from any other international travellers arriving from across the world. Clearly, we have very strict rules on most international travellers, all except New Zealand. And those strict rules require that anybody coming in from overseas will go into hotel quarantine for 14 days. The New Zealand travellers, provided they have been in New Zealand for 14 days, provided they don't have symptoms, provided they complete their declaration, and provided they satisfy our health requirements at this end when they arrive, will be able to come straight out into our community and, of course, enjoy catching up with their family and friends and doing the business that we hope they'll do here in New South Wales. It's another confirmation that New South Wales is actually the gateway to the rest of the country, the rest of Australia. And we welcome our Kiwi friends coming in, but we're also doing it in a very COVID-safe way. Again, thanks to the Commonwealth for the work they've done with Border Force. Thanks for the work Border Force and Sydney Airport have done. I spoke personally to the General Manager of Sydney Airport a few days ago to make sure that as people enter in through the airport, there will be different channels, different ways in of those New Zealand travellers from the other travellers. And in fact, we'll also be keeping them separate from people coming from Victoria for the time being until Victoria does settle down its COVID situation.